My Love of Life Energy is a podcast created by Anna Scott. Anna knows that every human being sees life uniquely. In this podcast, she will talk to people and learn from them. These conversations are to shine the brilliance of each human being she speaks to. Join her. After each exploration, you will expand on your insights and see truth and beauty.
Good morning and good afternoon, and welcome to my podcast, My Love of Life Energy. And today I am humbled and honored to have Julie Gleeson as my guest. Julie Gleeson is the creator and owner of the Art of Living Inc. company. She's an international consultant, a wisdom coach, and a career developer. And my life is richer, better, because my life has passed through and with Julie. So welcome. It's such an honor to have you.
Lovely introduction. Thank you. It's fun to finally be able to do this with you.
I've been threatening for 3 years since I started my podcast that I've been wanting to do this with you.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I want people to know is that Julie and I were just talking. And the thing I love about Julie, and she says this, is that people will just call her on the phone and hear her voice, and they begin to calm down.
People listen to my voicemail and calm down.
Yeah. And
Crazy.
Can you speak to that? What is that?
Yeah. Mostly those are people who have done a little work with me, and they're just reminded of what the energy of an open heart feels like, and then their heart remembers and opens up, and so they don't really need to have an intellectual conversation. It's funny, it makes me giggle every time I hear somebody say that, but it's the truth of it. Is if we're dealing with energy, which is where you and I intersect broadly, is in being able to hear the energy of health and well-being versus the energy of complexity and chaos. That the open-heartedness energy is what's built into our system. If we would quit interfering with it, it would just be our normal state. That's never going to happen because we're human, but it's nice to know that it's normal. It's sitting there waiting for us. Should we remember to look?
Oh my God, Julie, when you say if we should look there, can you say more about that?
Yeah. Many of my clients, because we weren't taught this as children, they don't know that built into our system is this place of wisdom and warmth and deep, deep love that's normal. It's innate to us. It's our room temperature state of mind. But because we've been both successful at and trained in the fine motor skills of our intellect, let's call it the fine motor skills of our intellect, we reach for the intellect to solve our problems. And when a problem needs new thinking, the intellect only knows what we already know. And so it's a mismatch. You can never solve a complex problem using only your intellect. You have to have some fresh thinking available, and that comes from universal intelligence, which is coursing through us all the time, nudging us and trying to get our attention, and we say, shut up, I'm busy. It makes me laugh every time I catch myself doing it, and I do it just like all of us, right? But when people hear and can really feel what life is like when their heart is open, it's not like humming. It's not even like meditating. It's a state of being that is so fresh and invigorating. It brings action with it. It brings insight with it. It brings wisdom with it. And it's like that proverbial beach ball. It wants to float on the top of the water all the time. And yet what we're taught as human beings is, now just push down harder on the beach ball and it'll all work out. And I did that for the first 40 years of my life, and then discovered the work of Sydney Banks and the 3 principles and open-heartedness. And I couldn't believe the difference. I couldn't believe the difference, and how much easier my life was and how much more effective my life was. Sort of annoying to not know that for the first 40 years, but oh well.
When you say open-hearted, like we say it, like there's the intellectual understanding of it.
Yeah.
The concept.
Yeah.
And then there's the, I guess I would say, experience of it.
Yeah. So one of the things I have when I speak in front of people and they ask me that question, what I'll have them do, and so let's just do this for a moment ourselves, is I'll have them just for about 10 seconds, remember something that was frustrating or annoying within the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, so now stop doing that. Okay. We don't like you to dwell there very long. And then now just take a deep breath, just to kind of cleanse your palate. And now think of something that moved you, struck you with awe, made you giggle. And how would you describe how your heart feels on this second one?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can feel the lightness. It's like a playfulness.
It's like a lightness and playfulness. Some people describe it as a full heart. Some people feel like their heart's going to burst with joy. And I like to call it open-heartedness, because if the phone rings when I'm in the middle of one of those moments of awe, my heart goes, right?
Yeah.
And it could even be you who I would want to talk to and who I dearly love. And my heart, just at the noise of the phone ringing, will go. And so then I say to myself, open back up. It's fine. It's only Anna. Right? Nothing to be afraid of. Yeah. And so I spend a great deal of my life reminding myself to open my heart, because then the intellect is more sedated.
You know what I love, Julie, and what you just said is that there's no wrong making of the humanity.
Oh, no. The humanity is great fun if we don't take it so seriously. And if we know that we can return to a place where we find comfort, no matter what's happening. But the messes are sort of, well, I firmly believe they're required for us to achieve new levels of consciousness on the path that we're on, that life gave us. Like universal intelligence designed us to mess up. And we keep trying to be perfect and not mess up, which stops everything. And we're supposed to mess up. And
oh my God.
When we have that kind of room in our lives, everything gets to be more fun.
Oh my God, Julie. There's a grace that you're speaking about the messes. And I remember you saying, I think it was you, it's like life is happening for you.
Yeah, it's always, well, I mean, we have a choice. Human beings are free will creatures. Gosh darn it, but that's what we are. And so my favorite quote, which I've told you many times, is Albert Einstein, who said something on the order of, the most important question human beings will ever answer is the universe a friendly place? And if we answer yes to that question, we have one experience of life. And if we answer no to that question, we have another experience of life.
Yeah.
And so that grace that you're talking about can only happen inside of my choice and knowing that the universe is a friendly place. Now, does that mean that everything that happens is something that I would have chosen from a menu? Absolutely not. But if I understand it as being for me, this experience that I am not enjoying, I can navigate the circumstances with more grace and wisdom than I can if I am trying to fight against life, which is sort of ridiculous, but I do it all the time anyway. Me, this 5'7.5" woman fighting against universal life intelligence. It's not probably a good fight. Yeah, not a lot of bets being put on this little girl, right?
But it's a whole different point of view.
Yeah.
And perspective.
Yeah.
and that one switch, and then you have a very different life based on what you decide to look at.
Yeah. I think it was Martin Luther King said something on the order of that all of life's trajectory is bending towards the good, but it's a slow trajectory, which again has that grace in it. It's like, yeah, I trust that it's headed the right direction, and navigating these waters is not for the faint of heart.
Yeah. And because what I'm hearing is also a paradox. What you're talking about is a paradox right now.
Point out the paradox to me.
That the paradox is the whole of it's good, but in the moment, the circumstances, the water of turbulence doesn't appear that way.
Yeah. And I like to stay away from the words good and bad because they come with energy.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would say that the universe is up to something that's beneficial.
Yes.
Right. And sometimes that means circumstances that I wouldn't necessarily choose. And you may notice one of the reasons that I appear so calm is because I work very, very, very deeply to speak as neutrally as possible.
I was just going to ask you about that.
Yeah, because
Can you speak to that?
Yeah, language carries energy. So if I think someone's a jerk,
oh wow,
can you feel your heart close?
Yeah, and what's so interesting is how I know you. It actually shocked my system.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a reference point for knowing you in that language.
Correct. That's correct. Because I would never say that. I use it only as an example, right?
Yeah.
So in my world, human beings, 100% of us have hearts that are wide open and good as gold. And 100% of us are so messy as to be ridiculous. And that's the true paradox in my world is how do I understand both of those? Well, the only way I can do that and maintain my bearings and access to fresh thinking and wisdom is to have as little noisy energy coming out of my mouth and my body as possible. And so I attempt to describe situations I'm in neutrally. That doesn't mean avoiding what's going on. It means not reaching for the judgment button about something that I don't care for. By the way, this saved my marriage to do this because the first 5 years of my marriage were not neutral. And I had an insight that maybe I should look at things much more neutrally than I was. And that includes myself, like not judging myself in any other way than neutrally.
You had once shared with me to find things interesting.
Well, I don't know if it's possible to have an open heart and not be interested in everything. I mean, when my heart is open, as I said to you when I first got on this call, this Zoom session, is the window behind you today looks like a painting. And that comes from open-heartedness. And I'm very interested in why the light makes it look that way. So open-heartedness brings fascination, which is a form of open-hearted curiosity and being interested in things. But we can only be interested in what we're interested in. You can't force that. It's one of the things that the intellect can't make us do. Like, yeah, go listen to this training and you'll be interested in it. Yeah, well, probably not. Not unless it's part of the journey I'm on.
It's funny, it's because what I'm seeing is the minute I become interested in it, my heart goes with it. My heart opens up.
Yeah.
Or if I'm open-hearted, I become interested.
I was going to say, I don't even know which one of those comes first, right?
Yeah.
But then maybe they toggle back and forth. But I know when I'm at my most frustrated, and ask my husband, I get there. One of the things that will sometimes catch me enough so that I know I'm out of balance is I notice that I'm not curious at all about what's happening. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I know how it is and how it should be. That's the intellect. Anything that has the should or any flavor of judgment. So here are the things that are heart closing: looking for approval, looking for security, looking for control, and feeling separated. Those are the four things. And judgment triggers all four of those, right? Judgment of ourselves. Now we're looking for approval. Judgment of the situation. Now we don't feel safe. Judgment of what's going on and my part in it. That's the control issue, right? And then judgment in general separates us from that feeling of being one. So one of the reasons that you and I work so well together and are such good friends is because we can drop into this place of communion, of oneness. And that's what all of us are longing to re-experience all the time.
It's like taking a warm bath with you. When I'm with you, I mean, it's like having your favorite cup of tea. I'm having my favorite cup of tea.
Right.
And taking a hot bath and feeling so at home.
Right. Or in my case, going and standing in the produce aisle at Whole Foods, right? It feels the same way. It's like like healthy, clean, calm energy.
Mm-hmm.
And from that clean energy, we can work out anything.
Yeah, anything's possible.
Anything's possible that wants to happen from universal intelligence. So I can't do what's not mine to do, though that I may try. So when we feel like nothing's going our way, we might want to consider that life doesn't want us to go that direction. And we might want to now here's where the curiosity comes back in. Curious about what does life really want of us? It's a question nobody even was taught to ask.
Say more about that question, because that I having watched you and worked with you around career, that's a question. It's like along with your neutral, looking at neutral, it seems to me you're interested in that question. What does life really want from me?
Oh yeah, it's the overriding navigation tool of my life, which is I can tell energetically if I'm floating down the river I'm supposed to be on, or if I'm trying to swim upstream or get out of the river entirely. Mm-hmm. And that feeling of having energy move me along in the right direction, and the ease with which that happens, that allows my heart to open, I know that's what I sometimes call a calling or my design. And everybody's got one of those, and it's different for everybody. And when we find out what that is, or can feel what it is and go that direction, miracles start to happen. Synchronicities start to happen. And we feel terrific, and we have a load of energy because we're not fighting with life anymore.
So I know this is my plug for you, because I love to plug you more than anything. because you're brilliant at what you do. And I've had I've been blessed by the good fortune of receiving your gift, and that's around design. And you're having at the end of September, I believe you're doing a design class. Yes. And I'd like you to speak more about that.
Yeah, it's a public design workshop. It's 3 days. I'm going to look at the exact dates. I should have them on the tip of my fingers. It's September 28th, 29th, and 30th. And it's a small group of people, probably no more than 5 or 6. And what we'll spend the days doing is finding out individually, as a collective, watching each person through an interview process, discover who they were born to be, not as a career, but as a direction in life. Like, what's the thing that they decided life needed? And they were born in order to bring as much of that as possible to the world. And then when we pass away, we go back and report on how we did. And when we do that, and then find out how it plays out in a balanced version, how it plays out in an out of balance version, and then what to do with that going forward in life. You know those people better than anybody you've ever known in your entire life, and so they remain your friends forever. And B, you know yourself in a way where you're not insecure very much anymore.
I really, would you be willing to share a little bit about balanced and out of balance? Because when you said it had me think of somebody and go, oh, I didn't see it correctly. I saw the gift of them and what it looks like out of balance, but I'd like you to bring that up because it's powerful.
Yeah, they're not opposites. The thing that both breaks my heart and delights me is that when human beings are hard on ourselves, what we're doing is beating ourselves up for getting close to the mark of living our life well. But we don't know we're close to the mark. So we think, for instance, I often have people who are in technical fields, or even some creatives that are like architects or designers, something like that, who are looking at spaces and really need discernment to be able to tell how to make the spaces lovely. They're often very, very critical by nature. And criticism is too much discernment. It's discernment with a closed heart, is what it is. And so if you begin to understand when we catch ourselves being critical or judgmental of ourselves or another or a situation, there's probably something that we do want to point out, but we need to back up and do less of that so that we can drop back down into discernment and open our hearts. And now we can see what it is that's bugging us.
So for the listeners who's here, I've had the experience of doing this design work with Julie. And I want to share with everybody my experience. It was the first time in my life I felt listened to and seen. And it was profound.
And I swear, Anna, that's because I was born a twin. And I had to discern from the time I was a zygote. Like there's always been another with me. And so either you compete, which didn't feel very good, or discern. And so I've been discerning my entire life. And so listening to people for who they actually are is feels like that. Well, what else would you do with a human being? Right? That's how design works, by the way. It seems so natural, yours to you, that you assume everybody else sees the world that way and behaves that way. And when they don't, we're outraged. Right? And so that sense of being seen and being known, talk about being bathed in a nature walk or with a warm bath. I mean, people long to be seen and heard and known, and they don't know it's possible.
Yeah. But you also have perfect pitch.
I do. I was born with perfect pitch when I was going to be a piano virtuoso, and then broke my wrist and didn't go there. But I did have the ability to hear perfect pitch. Haven't tested it for a while, but I know I know I listen to energy that way.
But you listen to love that way.
I do. Yeah.
And I'm wondering if love has a certain vibration or quality or sound to it.
Yeah, when I'm doing design, I have to explain to people, and I probably did this with you, that part of it is almost like a seance, because I hear who people are in musical tones first. I hear chords, which to me is how the energy shows up. And then I have to translate that into English, which takes a quiet moment towards the end of every person's design. I have to send people on a break, go walk around the parking lot, right? Read a book, check your email, whatever it is you want to do. But yeah, love does have a certain energy. And I think for each one of us, it's attached to who we are by design. And that when we're loving from that place, it includes everything and everybody. And when we try and love what's not from a place that's not ours to love, it gets all weirded out. It's a technical term.
The thing that knowing your design, for me, I can only share my experience, and I'm curious what other people, but what it did is it grounded me.
That's what I long to have it do for most people. Yes. And when people feel like they're floating off into the universe with all the chaos, I'll ask them, have they reread their design? And they say, no. And I'll go back. I'll say, well, just call it up and read it. And then the energy of their voice changes, because the cells of their heart know that that's the truth of them. And it's like a resetting thing. So, the heart math people, HEARTMATH, have been studying the heart for years, 35, 36 years. And they discovered that there are brain cells in the heart as well as in the brain. And that the brain cells in the heart are the ones that are responsible for actions that we take from love. Mm-hmm. So they're the ones that are from the wisdom brain cells and the creative brain cells and the open-hearted brain cells. And nobody knew they were there. And now Heart Math has been studying this for 35 years. And it turns out if we can be in coherence with the beating of our own hearts, that our physiology rebalances and the world begins to rebalance. Mm. Yeah. And so all of this, like neutral language and being known so you're stable, all of that is encouraging the heart to do the thinking rather than the mind.
Julie, one of the gifts that you have is your presence and the energy state that you live in.
Thank you.
Because you're, I understand right now about entrainments where people entrain together. Mm-hmm. You're so grounded in your heart that without saying words, you're inviting people to feel their own heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a safe spot.
Yeah, that is true.
And it's powerful because if we, I feel like I'm in a secret. I feel like I found the best diner in the whole wide world that nobody knows about when I'm with you.
Yeah. And then the question that I always have is, how do we encourage people to know that this is built into the system, that this isn't unique to Anna, that this isn't unique to Julie.
Yeah.
This is our birthright to be aware of and fully experiencing open-heartedness, wisdom, and fresh thinking. And I didn't know that for the longest time. I remember where I was standing when I realized that, oh my goodness, life was meant to be enjoyed. And I've just never forgotten that insight. It just struck me right across the forehead. Because that was not true for me up until that point. I thought I needed to get ahead and get all my lists done before I could actually enjoy my life. Not so. It's supposed to be as we go that we enjoy life.
One of the things I remember about you and like to support that is you always take time to enjoy your lunch.
I do.
And you make that day, that space and time in the middle of your day. And it's such a simple act.
Yeah.
And yet it's such a reverent act.
I love that word. I love that you chose that word because that is my experience of my lunchtime. Is it's a place of reverence, and it reminds me that I'm included in the conversations I'm in.
Yeah, that's the experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Julie, we are at the end of our time.
Oh my gosh, it goes so fast.
Fastest 30 minutes.
Exactly.
this is all, your workshop's going to be listed and I'm going to plug it. But is there any place else that people can find you? And it'll all be listed in the blog, but I really want to make sure people who hear this, they get the gift experiencing you from here, but also on their own.
Probably my website is the best place. That's where all of my blog posts are posted. And that's theartoflivinginc.com. So theartoflivinginc.com. It's not INK, it's INC. Pretty good. And they can sign up for the newsletter there, or anytime that if I'm emailing with you, it's always there's a link at the bottom of my emails to do that.
And you also have a Tuesday weekly or program that you do. That's a
yes, that we
membership?
started during the pandemic. That's called Growing More Peaceful Even Now. And we did it for free for the first year. And then it was taking enough of our time that we decided we would charge $45 a month for 4 calls a month. It's 1-hour calls. And people just drop into those Tuesdays for a hit of this space. It's like a refreshing moment to remember who they actually are. And people listen to the recordings afterwards. I record all of them and put them on a playlist so people can go back and watch what happened and re-experience it again. But those have been lifesavers for myself and many people who were longing for community when we were all so separated, or felt like we were.
Oh, beautiful. It has been such a delight.
Yeah, thanks for asking about
Anytime.
that. Yes, and I love you
Great.
very much, and I'm so glad that we are carrying on with the work we were intended to do.
Yeah, thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much, Julie.
Okay.